folks, welcome to the channel. I'm Don. This is Thinking Theology, where I take a look at topics related to theology. Doesn't matter what the topics are. Could be just implied, could be the wonder of the size of the universe. But I do not take a theological position because I don't have one. I like to look at the arguments made. I like to hear different things said to see where they make sense, what value they might have, if any. At one point, I was considered by some a biblical scholar, so I have familiarity with the text. Let's just say that. But I'm more a philosopher by nature. But my deep involvement in some of the, I guess, more scholarly work was my unraveling in the text. So I'm going to look at this one. This is fascinating. Can morality exist without God? All right, standard question in many ways. Had meta views, and where does morality come from, if anywhere? And but the interesting part is it's Christopher Hitchens debating with Al Sharpton. I just did not expect to see these two names going at it like in a debate. And I don't mean that they're going to be overly contentious, but maybe they are.
When you raise the issue of morality, if there is no supervisory being, then what do we base morality on? Is it based on who has the might at any given time? Who's in power? What is morality based on? If there is no order to the universe, and therefore some being, some force that ordered it, then who determines what is right and wrong, what is moral and immoral? You use very religious terms interchangeably while you attack the idea of a God. There is nothing immoral if there's nothing in charge, because everything becomes moral if, in fact, the species as we are is all there is. We'll determine, let's decide every 4 years what's moral. Most Republicans do, but I mean, let's do it in the sense of, let's just say, forget all of that. We'll decide morality based on every period of time, because there is nothing up there governing it anyway. And you don't have to burn in hell to understand that life has certain guiding posts that has been set there well beyond your own being. And I think that the whole world was waiting on one's birth, your birth or mine, or death to set the framework of morality, I think that is very arrogant. It's also delusional, but it is very arrogant at best.
Again, in reverse order.
Don't look for help from the referee. I'm over here.
I incline in your direction, sir. Said it before. Very suggestive thing that you just said. If there was no one in charge, how would we know how to act morally? This is indeed a very profound observation. It's said it's argued by Smerdyakov in the Brothers Karamazov. It said, without God, anything is permissible. Some people believe that. Some people believe that without the fear of divine total surveillance and supervision, everyone would do exactly as they wished, and we would all be wolves to each other. I think there's an enormous amount of evidence that that's not the case, that morality is innate in us.
All right, I'm going to make a quick point, too, because one of the things that has gotten mankind to the point of being apex, top of the food chain, among living species is cooperation. And I don't know if Hitchens is going to go in that direction, but I don't think that we would just automatically begin attacking each other. I think morality, as we say, can be tied into civility and survival and various precepts and prescribed actions, commissions and omissions, things we can do, things we should do, and things that we absolutely can't do for fear of punishment. And I imagine Hitchens will go in this direction on some level that says cooperation is what got mankind to the point where we're at, and cooperation requires certain rules of engagement and civility to maintain the cooperation. So it serves our own interest, like lions that hunt in a pride, where there may be less food on when they capture the thing, but they capture more food because they work together, that type of thing.
Solidarity is part of our self-interest in society as well as our own interest.
Yeah.
And very much to argue the contrary, that when you see something otherwise surprising to you, such as a good person acting in a wicked manner, it's very often because they believe they're under divine orders to do so. Stephen Weinberg puts it very well. He says, left to themselves, evil people will do evil things and good people will try and do good things. If you want a good person to do a wicked thing, that takes religion. For example,
I don't agree with that fully.
I simply do not believe. I do not believe that my Palestinian friends, I've known for years, think that to blow yourself up outside an orphanage is a moral act, or inside one is a moral act, or in an old people's home in Netanya is a moral action. That anything in their nature makes them think this. But their mullahs tell them that it is, and that the person doing this is a hero. I do not think that any person looking at a newborn baby would think, how wonderful, what a gift, but now just let's start sawing away at its genitalia with a sharp stone. Who would give them that idea if not the godly? And what kind of argument from design is this? Babies are not born beautiful, they're born ugly. They need to be sawn a bit because the handiwork of God is such garbage. Well, honestly, this is what I mean when I say that those who think there's any connection between ethics and religion have all their work still ahead of them, and after thousands of years, still have it all ahead of them more and more. There.
So you do not believe in your long and thorough research of history that atheists ever did anything evil. These were only religious people that were driven by somebody representing God that made them do that. And people that came in satanic ways, all of that is rubbish.
I like the direction Sharpton as a matter of argumentation, because I've made this point myself, because it's been made here on the channel to the contrary, that religion is the cause of all wars and so all this evil. And even though it's the cause of some, it's not the cause of all. There's been, and I think it's a misattribution. I think merely because a group is Christian and they've done evil things, it's not necessarily in the name of that religion. Any more than atheism. I don't think that Kim Jong-un right now has this stranglehold over the people of North Korea, and they're not allowed to have religion. They're not allowed to have outside influences. And the evil done merely because he or they are atheists is because they're atheists. There are other reasons. Most things are done in the name of money or land grabs and such. People fight all the time, and it's not over religion. On individual bases, as well as on large-scale geopolitical bases, and it's rarely over religion. It's over some sort of financial disadvantage, and that somebody's trying to gain an advantage over.
Only religious people reading scriptures of some sort have done wicked things in the history of the world.
Right.
I should have raised that question myself, and I realized also...
But you didn't, so I did, so let's...
But I've never yet been at one of these meetings where it didn't come up, but I owe you yet another answer. When you say you've had this confirming emotion in your own life, of course, I would not be so presumptuous as to challenge you. Indeed, I believe people when they say that they have experienced miracles. I believe that they think that they have. I think I'm obliged to credit them if it comes to that. As long as they keep it to, if you like, if I can put it like this, modestly as I dare, to themselves. If I believe that I was saved because once a baby boy was born and before mutilated, was made the extraordinary discovery that he'd escaped the female birth canal. His mother was a virgin, or at least her birth canal was only one way. Thus I was a sorry thing, by the way, religion's distaste for these regions, don't you find? And something to put you on your guard. Suppose I thought, okay, now I know that must prove his teachings are true, which it doesn't seem to me that they do, but suppose I did, and I'm going to be saved by it. I think that was a wonderful secret. It would make me happy. It should make me happy. It doesn't make people happy. They can't be happy till I believe it too. My children must be taught this stuff. No, sir, no, ma'am, no day, no way, no shape, no form. You keep your illusion private. And I hope it does make you happy, and there's perhaps some reason why it would. But we're told the Pope's authority to say you can't have a condom comes from his ability to certify a miracle. a disturbance in the natural order. I think it was David Hume who put it slightly vulgarly. This was again about the virgin birth, I think. Which is more likely, that the whole natural order is suspended, or that a Jewish minx should tell a lie? There has to be an answer to this kind of question. As to the secular bad behavior, well,
Okay. I'll leave it there. I mean, and this is where argumentation and what makes more sense, what by a preponderance of the evidence makes more sense to each one of us. And they each made good points based on their respective paradigms and viewpoints. I understand what Sharpton is saying, and based on where he's coming from, his argument makes sense. I understand Hitchens as well. Where he's coming from, it makes complete sense. In this debate, I more side with Hitchens. Yeah, I gained a little bit more respect for Sharpton in this debate, because whenever I've seen him on the news, generally speaking, he seems to be just stoking flames and dividing people. But he made the point that I've made on the channel as well, that do you think that like only religious people do bad things? I think people do bad things. I think people do good things, regardless of religious stripe or lack thereof. And Hitchens, though, made at one point, what do you think makes more sense? That the natural order of things, referring to birth and conception, where he made I've never heard this before, where he made the reference to Mary's birth canal being one way. It only goes out. But insemination doesn't happen in the normal course. Then he went on to say a little bit later, was he referencing Hume in this one? I don't think Hume would have made this point, but somebody, maybe it was just Hitchens himself making it, that which is more plausible, that the natural order of the universe would be suspended, or that somebody would lie. What he said, a Jewish minx, did he say? Or a minx, would lie about how they got pregnant. And you make up your own mind. Of course, if you believe that the Bible is the Word of God, then, and that the people wrote dictation, basically took it right down, and that this is absolutely infallible. Or you might even allow certain vagaries in it just due to the way in which translation works and all that. But still, the basics of it are 98% spot on. Then you're going to look at this and say, well, it happened that way. Mary was a virgin, gave birth, however you want to say it. God could do what he wants, and he could impregnate supernaturally a woman who said, be it unto me, Lord. Okay, and people believe that. And I have no problem if they do. There are lots of beliefs in this world that I don't agree with, but it doesn't mean I don't like the person who has them. Hitchens makes a good point there, that which one's more plausible. And yeah, from the outside, if you don't believe the Bible or the text are the word of God, but the word of men, or their best, men and women, but mankind's best attempt in that time to make sense of what was going on, then that actually would make it easier to tie the biblical records together. It wouldn't mean that they're from God, and it wouldn't necessarily even mean that they're wrong. It would just mean that they need to be read in a different light, as opposed to attributing infallibility to them. We could look at them and scrutinize them the way we would look at any account of Coretta Scott King in the marches for civil rights, for example, or any event, the Challenger explosion. People, ask anybody who watched that on TV or was alive at that time, as I was, what's your account of it? And there will be divergencies in the message. Doesn't mean the Challenger explosion didn't happen. It just means we have to read it differently. And if you believe that's the case with the biblical text, or that they're complete nonsense, that people just completely made it up, that could be your vantage point too. Fair enough. Sharpton, though, I get his point. He's a bit verbose. Not my style. But he was sharper than I thought he would be in this debate. And Hitchens is always on point. He always makes his point, and I appreciate that very much. So there it is. I guess if I had to say who won this argument, I would say it was Hitchens. It just seemed to be he had more salient points than the idea that Sharpton presented, that is it just the Wild West here? And it's like, well, yeah, it kind of is, but we have rules that we instituted ourselves, and we call it morality. We call it ethics. They're different, but they're tied to one another. Personal morality, ethics is a larger scale thing, and how we interact with one another. There's an advantage to all of us getting along with one another as best as we can. My safety and your safety are both on better footing if we have rules that we abide by. And then we enforce them with third parties known as policemen and women. So cooperation among people. That's why on the channel I like conviviality. That's why I espouse it. I look for it. We can talk about things, have different ideas without looking to execute one another or deride one another or just call each other names. So hope you enjoyed that, folks. Leave your comments and suggestions. Have a great day. See you on another video, and keep thinking theology.